That's great. And Senator, since Kim also asked about the fact that her husband is a small business owner and inferenced the heavy burden placed on small businesses in particular, I know you have a monument in your office to some of the regulations that happen. I think that's another important issue for Utahns and for Utah businesses in particular, is dealing with that overbearing regulatory. Maybe you could expound on that.
Sure. Kim, if you ever happen to be in Washington, stop by my office. It's in room 316 of the Hart Senate Office Building. But if you don't have time to go to Washington anytime soon, you can look online. We've got a picture of a bookcase that I have in my front office here in Washington. In that bookcase, I have the Federal Register for 2013. The Federal Register is the cumulative yearly index of all federal regulations as they're proposed, as they're first published. Now, last year's Federal Register contained an astonishing 80,000 pages. 80,000 pages of new regulations. Now, these carry the force of law, but they're written by men and women within federal bureaucracies that, as well educated and well intentioned as they may be, are not subject to an election. They don't even work for anyone who is subject to an election. They're completely insulated from the political process, which means that you can't fire them if they come up with regulations that are oppressive for your business or for your husband's business. You can't have the opportunity to vote them out of office every 2 years in the case of House of Representatives and every 6 years in the case of members of the Senate. And so on top of that bookcase, I have the number of laws that were passed during that same time period. Last year, Congress passed only about 800 pages worth of law. So you've got 800 pages of law on top of a bookcase containing 80,000 pages. Most of our laws are now written by men and women who are not elected. That's a problem. I've got legislation to undo that problem. It's called the REINS Act. I'm co-sponsoring it with my friend Rand Paul, the senator from Kentucky. What the REINS Act says is that for any new major regulation, any regulation that carries with it a substantial economic impact as measured by the Office of Management and Budget, would not be able to take effect unless or until Congress had enacted it into law and submitted it to the President for his signature. I think that would do more than just about anything else that we could do to help small businesses, because that 80,000 pages of new regulations a year, coupled with the existing body of regulations that we have already adopted, is costing the American people about $2 trillion a year. That's almost as much as Americans have to pay into our income tax system. And it's wrong, especially because it's being put forward by men and women who are not accountable to the people.